Hi everyone, Kim from Expression Artworks. So I am doing a fun decoupage today. Well, I'm going to be doing two shells that I have. So I'll hold them up for you to see. Beautiful shells I happen to just pick up locally by where I live. And that's the inside. And I'm going to be actually decoupaging on the inside and leaving the outer area alone. Now, if you look closely, these shells have some discoloration, like just natural discoloration, some like yellows and tan colors. Now, you can choose to repaint the area that you're decoupaging. So sometimes people like to paint these using either white acrylic or white chalk paint. But I don't mind that little bit of coloring. I think it just adds to it and adds more character. So I'm going to leave that as is. And these are going to be the two images that I'm going to be using for each shell. And I actually created these. I have other ones like this on my Facebook page, so you're welcome to check me out. If you are not following, I would appreciate the follow. But anything that I do create with the help of ChatGPT, I have that in my photos, and you're welcome to use it on your own personal crafts that you make and sell, as long as you're not claiming the images as your own, just being respectful. I'd appreciate that. Okay, so being that I am not painting them, I don't need the paint, but what I want to do is, and if you look again, like I left a little bit of a white border around it, because I'm going to be taking, just think about like when you decoupage any type of surface and you don't want the straight edges. So you use either a water pen or a brush with water, which I'm going to do, and you just kind of go around the area and give it like that jagged edge. Now I copied these on a piece of Mulberry paper. So this is not copy paper. Obviously you could use regular copy paper, Mulberry paper, rice paper, really anything that you prefer. And depending on what you're decoupaging it on, the paper might make a difference. So I have my water here, and I'm just gonna go around with my little brush around the edges and give it more of that softer, jagged look. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to start tearing. I feel like the Mulberry paper is a little bit thicker than rice paper. It is very similar. Rice paper has more of the fiber pieces. If you're looking to have that extra added texture when you're decoupaging, and Mulberry paper, you don't really find that fiber texture in it. But sometimes I like to decoupage with this because it is not as thick as copy paper, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just doing one, one edge at a time. And you can see I'm just tearing it off, and it's creating that jagged look. And I also want to take off enough where you don't see any of that water. So you don't want like any water stains on it. So you want to go far enough down where you tear off wherever you added the water. And like I said, you could also do this with a watering pen. I see some of my crafter friends have that. I don't happen to have one, so I'm just using a good old small brush and some water. And I'm getting the same effect. So again, it's whatever you have, whatever you're comfortable with, and all about preference. So there's my first piece, and you can see that nice soft jagged look. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. You also might be catching this video on my YouTube channel at Expression Artworks. So I hope if you like what you see, you will subscribe to my channel. So you could either catch me on Facebook, which is Expression Artworks by Kim, or at Expression Artworks on YouTube. And I love crafting and making tutorials and posting them on both of my my social media. So again, when you're adding the water, you want to add a generous amount. You don't want to soak it, but you want to add a decent amount so it does make it easier for you to tear. And you could tear off as much or as little as you need. And I have one more side to do. Okay, and then there's my other image. So now I'm ready to actually do my decoupaging. So I'm going to take actually a bigger brush. I'll use my fan brush. I like to decoupage with this a lot. And even though the print is not going to take up the whole shell, I'm still going to put the Mod Podge on the most of this shell. So I'm just starting with the top here, and I'm going to work my way down. And you want to put a generous amount of this Mod Podge because you want to make sure that print is going to adhere. Okay. So I'm going to just start and kind of like place it where I want it to go. Try to center it. And it's got those little grooves, so you want to make sure you're getting inside those grooves. And I'm starting at the bottom and just working my way into the center and then to the top. And you could use your thumbs to kind of fan out. And again, making sure I'm getting inside those grooves. This corner needs a little bit more, so I'm going to place a little bit more underneath the paper here. And then there you go. So I'm going to let this dry a bit, and then I'm going to wind up sealing it with some more Mod Podge. I also have this Deco Art Metallic Gold called Champagne Gold. And I'm going to be taking a fine detailed brush and I'm going to be going around the edging of the shell, just giving it a little something extra, making it shine a little bit more. So now I'm ready for my next one. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add the Mod Podge to the inner shell. Obviously, you could also decoupage on the outside. Make sure you get inside all those grooves. I'm gonna let a little bit of it hang over because I wanna make sure I get most of that top part in, where a little bit of the palm tree, a little bit of the sky. So I don't mind letting some of that hang over because I could lightly sand that off. And again, starting at the bottom, making sure I'm getting inside those grooves. Oop. Got away from me there a little bit. And just using my fingertips to press it down and get it where I want it. I'm also spreading it out if it wants to wrinkle a little bit. I'm lightly spreading it out to eliminate any wrinkles. And there we go. And like I said, I'm going to take a light grid sander and just sand that off. But I want to let it set in a little bit and dry so it doesn't slip. Okay, now I'm going to take the Mod Podge again to this one and just slightly go over it to seal it in. And you could also, I don't happen to have it, but you could also take a Mod Podge that is gloss. This one happens to be matte. Yeah, this is the matte one, but they have it in gloss too. And you could finish it off in the gloss if you're looking for a shine. So again, it's what you prefer. Okay, I'm going to put some heat to it. And now I'm going to add some of that gold. I have a fine line detail brush that I'm using. Give this a little shake. Now with metallic paints, they are thinner than your regular acrylic paint. So just keep that in mind. Such a pretty color. Hopefully you can see that well. Champagne Gold Deco Art. And I'm just going to keep dipping it into the cap. And I'm going to be applying it to the edges of the shell. So I'm going to start with the top And then I'm going to work my way down. Hopefully you could see good. And this will kind of like finish off the shell, giving it a little something extra. And I'm just going to continue that process. On the outmost part of the shell, just kind of like outlining it. And you could play around with different golds. I wanted this to be more subtle, so I'm using a softer gold, but obviously there are deeper golds, brighter golds. You could also give it a second coat if you choose, if you want it to show up more. I am a big fan of the softer golds and more natural looking. But again, it's all about preference. This tutorial is just to kind of give you a guideline and show you what you can do and put in your creativity. I don't want to touch the edges because it's still wet, so I'll take a dryer to it again, but this is to show you how just that little, adding that touch of gold around the edges really finishes the look. So I'm going to just gently place it down, and I'm going to dry that up. And I may decide to give it a second coat, and I could definitely do that. But again, it just gives it that little extra added touch and makes it sparkle. Another thing you could do is you could take your background colors. So with mine, with these colors, I have those pastel beachy colors. This one has the blue and green. It almost looks like watercolor. So I could take a little bit of a matching blue paint. I could water it down to make it look a little bit more translucent. And then I could paint around the edges if I choose not to leave it white. So that's another idea. You could always, whatever you're decoupaging, you could always take a color or the majority of the color that's in your background of your image that you're decoupaging on, and you could paint around the background. Okay, so now I feel pretty good with holding it up. Oh, let me let it cool down because it does get hot. while that's cooling down, I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And I'm going to add that gold. Now again, remember I left the other, colors. I didn't want to paint that white. So it does have natural coloring of the shell that's still there and visible. And I had liked that. I felt like it just added more character to the shell. But if that bothers you, then you could just take a white chalk paint or a white acrylic paint and paint the shell, 1 or 2 coats, to cover that up if you choose to do that. Okay, I'll let that dry and then I'll hold up the other one. And there you go. So you see that gold rim around the edging? Well, thank you so much for joining me. And if you enjoyed this, like I said, I hope you will subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook as well. And I will be sharing lots of different tutorials and DIYs that you could do on your own. And I already have videos for you to check out. All right, bye. Thank you.